Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Steph Sells Homes podcast. This is episode 40, and today we have a very special guest, really good friend of mine. His name is Ernesto Aguilar. He's, first of all, an investor. He's also a father, a husband, and he's now part of the team, which I'm super excited for. And we had been talking about doing this podcast for a while, but with our busy schedules, we somehow made it work today. So I really want to thank him for being on. And he's going to talk to us today about BA and BA financing and how he's been able to basically buy like multiple doors through VA. So for any of our listeners who are, former VAs, this will be a good episode for you guys. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Ernesto and have him introduce himself and drop some BA nuggets for us.
Hey, good morning, Steph, and everybody, all the listeners out there. So, as she mentioned, my name is Ernesto Aguilar. I've been an investor since 2014, and initially it all started with a primary home, and essentially house hacked my way into multiple units, refinance, use my VA loan, and then refinance it out, and then pretty much repeated the process for multiple units. That kind of sparked the bug in real estate, and currently I've transitioned that purchase aspect into the building aspect. So now I'm converting my garages. As you know,
He's done a couple ADUs himself too. Yep.
Up to today, I've done two ADUs, 2 garage conversions, and
you're working on the third one,
a couple more in the works.
Yeah. So, when you bought your first one, take us back. Like, how did you even tap into real estate or think like, oh, I can use my VA loan
Right.
for this?
So back in 2010, I graduated high school. That's when I originally joined the military. A couple years after, I was able to save a little bit of money, which, as most of the veterans know, you don't really need money down with the VA loan.
Right.
However, I was able to save a little bit of money. The reason why I even thought about real estate was because my father was into real estate,
Oh,
and
really?
I saw the benefits of what he was able to reap from owning real estate. So I wanted to get into the business. So going back, 2010, I was able to. I deployed to Afghanistan in 2012. I was able, when you're deployed, you're able to save a little bit of money.
Right.
So when I came back, I was like, hey, I need to do something with this money. And the most logical thing to do was purchase a property. And that's how I was able to get my first. It was just a 2-bedroom, 1-bath in Hawaii.
What? No way, in Hawaii.
Yeah.
How, like, in Hawaii? You were in Afghanistan?
Yeah, I came back from Afghanistan. At the time I was stationed in Georgia. I came back from Afghanistan, and they sent me to Hawaii. When I got to Hawaii, that's when I bought my first. It was a condo. Small condo.
But that's how you start, right? That's a great stepping stone. Like, so you bought your first condo, then I'm assuming you sold it a few years later or refied.
It was a 2-bed, 1-bath, and at the time it was just my wife and I. So the spare bedroom, we didn't have any kids.
You didn't have the las
so,
nenas.
Right. So at that point, the spare bedroom we house hacked. We pretty much rented out the other room, and that kind of expedited the process of being able to pay things down. And we were fortunate enough to be able to pay that condo in 23 months. And that kind of sparked the ball.
How'd you do that?
My wife at the time was a preschool teacher, and I was active duty military. And pretty much all of our income was going towards the mortgage and paying the principal down. And we were able to pay $198,000 in 23 months.
And that's what I was gonna dive into. It's like the paying down the principal. I think that's a hack. Renting out the room is another house hack.
Right.
So these are all like little strategies that may not seem like it's a big deal, right? But it's those little things, those little tweaks or strategies that really help you scale. Because after that, then how do you get to like multiple doors?
Well,
that was like the stepping stone.
Correct. Yeah, that was definitely the foundation for our portfolio that we have today. We pretty much saw that it was beneficial and it was bringing in income at that point. Like I said, after 23 months, that house was paid. So my wife and I decided to go buy another condo. And we did that multiple times. Every time house hacking, since we didn't have any daughters or any kids at that point, we were okay sacrificing a bedroom and a bathroom to be able to expedite paying off the properties at that point. And like I said, one thing led to another, and essentially just kept doing that on multiple occasions. I must say that my wife is also a veteran, so she has the VA entitlement. So
So explain that, because a lot of people, and I get clients who say,
Sure.
"Oh, well, my wife's not a former VA. Can we also use her on the loan?" Like,
Right.
how does that work? Because you have more experience on that. The fact that both of you guys have the entitlement, like, how beneficial is that?
Right. That is very beneficial simply because, so for those of you that don't know, for the VA loan, you're able to use it on multiple times depending on the balance of the entitlement that you have,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on where you're at in the country. However, you cannot buy multiple investment properties,
Mm-hmm.
if you will. However, you can buy a property, and if there's balance left on that entitlement, you can go ahead and purchase another property. But you do have to live in that
And
property.
explain the entitlement for people who don't know.
Sure. The entitlement is pretty much something that you earn after serving a certain amount of
Mm-hmm.
time on active duty orders.
Right.
Essentially, for a certain amount of time on active duty,
Mm-hmm.
you get that entitlement, and that entitlement essentially is a loan that you don't have to put any money down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are some stipulations with the loan. You have to live in it or intend to live in it for at a minimum of like 12 months. It's just a way of keeping.
So as long as it's my primary and I'm intending to live there for 12 months, I could buy a 1 to 4 unit,
Yes,
right?
correct. Yes.
So that's like a big thing to kind of point out there and highlight is 1 to 4 units, or like even a duplex with adding 2 ADUs, turning it into a fourplex.
Correct.
I would say start off with the fourplex first, right?
Oh,
because then it's much easier for you to not downsize, but like buy your fourplex with the VA. And then eventually, if you want to buy a single family home or maybe buy a duplex, it's much easier for the underwriters and
right.
for it's for you not to have any issues with the loan. Which shout out to your lender,
Oh yeah,
Chris, who's
shout out
helped
to
you.
Chris Pacheco. Yeah, I've used him on multiple
Who's a
VA
VA,
loans.
that's his niche. So that's the
Correct.
other thing, like work with somebody who knows what they're doing in the VA world. I know most lenders can do VA loans, but it's a specific niche, kind of like ADU. So you got to know
Right.
what you're doing and how to structure the loans. But you've been able to maximize that. So what would you say, like every other year you guys been buying property?
I would say so. Yeah, on average, we try to buy some type of property every other year, and then build on those properties to maximize the space, best use, highest and best use, that kind of stuff.
So after Hawaii, then when did you come here?
I came back to California. I'm born and raised in California. I came back here in 2018. And
okay.
I came back here because I went to school here. I went to college here, and that's the reason why I came back. And my parents are here in Orange County, so I wanted to start a family and then have my daughters or whatever boys or girls that I had at that point, have them grow up with their grandparents.
Oh, yeah. Correct. And then here you implemented the ADU strategy. So how'd you get into ADUs?
Well, I just started doing, I'm a big follower of like Bigger Pockets, and I was able to get the idea from there. And that kind of sparked me doing a lot more research and just kind of seeing what is possible here in Orange County. Here in Orange County, everything, as you know, everything is so expensive, both to buy and rent. So why not maximize the space by just converting a garage that essentially I just had, just storage.
So you started off with the garage that you had as storage,
yeah.
And then you did the entire process, right? Like pulling the permits.
Yes, I did an owner build. However, I did hire out a contractor to do some stuff that I was not able to do, i.e., framing, plumbing, underground plumbing, the foundation, things like that. However, like the easier stuff like insulation, drywall, finishes, I was able to do to be able to make that
and how long did that take, the garage conversion? Because this was how long ago?
The very first one we did that 2.5 years ago. The whole
So
process.
right when like ADU started taking off, pretty much. Was it longer at that time?
Well, that
project, there was COVID too.
That project was in the city of Anaheim, and as you know, city of Anaheim with Disneyland down the road and all the hotels, they do try to make it a little bit harder to. The process is a little bit lengthier in terms of permits, so it did take a little bit longer. I would say from start to finish, that project took about 10 months, I would say.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And then the second one that you did was at also here in Orange County.
That was in La Habra, yes. So did that. Essentially, it was a detached garage we just had, boxes and things like that. And I just told my wife, I'm like, hey, this is a $1,800 a month storage that we have in the back.
Yeah.
Why not convert it and then rent it out? And that's currently what is right.
And now
out
you're
for.
cash flowing on those two. And that's really the way to kind of look at deals right now. Or if you're looking to buy your first home, even with VA, even though there's so many benefits, like not using your money down, there's special things that you don't even have to pay for either. Sometimes like the appraisal. But it's like, how can we maximize this and even get some sort of cash flow? So implementing the ADU strategy with VAs has honestly probably been like the best strategy for you. Financing, that's one of the main questions I get all the time. So how did you fund those projects?
Quite frankly, I like to think that I'm a pretty good saver, and I do invest in stocks and things like that. So I would essentially cash out. I would get a higher return with the ADU compared to the stock market in terms of the appraisal of the house would go up. I would get cash flow, tax benefits,
depreciation.
So exactly.
Yeah.
So in essence, I would be getting a higher return with the ADU. So I would basically cash out my stocks and use that money to fund my projects.
Wow. Yeah, that's really good. That's crazy. And now you're working on another one, right? In Buena Park, and
correct.
We have several people that we've met through the ADU world, and Ernesto met me through Instagram, just started following the content. We sort of connected because we're both like ADU geeks here. And we're always looking at ways of how we can just make it a more streamlined process, but then also affordable. So we've been able to connect with some really dope architects that can help you guys. And Ernesto can also help you guys with the VA. He's also a realtor on top of that. But I think primarily you're more of an investor first.
Yes.
And the reason why he wanted to join the team was more of the ADU stuff. So we're just excited to kind of show you guys what he's been able to do and what we'll be able to do together as a team to kind of help you guys scale that strategy. But I figured, let's talk to the average consumer, right? Or even a former VA who doesn't know that in a matter of what would you say, 5-6 years, you can accumulate a couple doors.
Yeah, if
it's totally doable.
Yeah, exactly. Here in Orange County, as we mentioned earlier, everything is so expensive. Here, you kind of have to. You have to buy with the intent to grow, meaning build on that property. And you don't find a good deal, you kind of make a good deal here in Orange County, at least. So that's been my thought process, and that's what I've been trying to do. The VA loan is a heck of a tool, and he's
looking right now. So for any investors, wholesalers who have deals, he's currently looking for up to 4 units in Orange County with the possibility of building ADUs and just continue to grow the portfolio. And now we're also handling and focusing a lot on the management side. So if you're a former VA, we can help you with the acquisition, we can help you with the build out. And if it's multiple doors, like a fourplex, then we can help you rent out the other 3 units. And there's different hacks for that too. I really like the midterm rental model. And short-term rental, it's cool. I'm not against it, but I feel like there's so many ordinance changes all the time and people trying to ban it, that midterm rental is that soft spot. But worst case scenario, always underwrite your deals for long-term rentals, which is what you've done, right? They're all long-term and they're cash flowing.
Yeah, they're
all
good. 12-month leases, just stabilized properties.
Yeah. So that's for me, I think the biggest hack today is how can just your average Joe who's a former VA and has a significant other who's also VA, how can you two together come together as a team and scale the strategy versus just buying a single family home and kind of just, saying you use your VA once. And then paying down the principal was the big one. I think that one kind of went over people's heads. But that one you can shave off so many years from your mortgage because you're basically paying towards the principal, not the interest rate. And through that, you can cut down, what would you say, 24 months? 23 months?
23 months.
23. My bad. 23. Yeah. No, I think that's great. And if any of you guys have more questions on VA, make sure you guys connect with us. We also started doing feasibility inspections. So Ernesto has done a couple with me, and we're going to start doing them all over Orange County and LA County. And do you want to tell them what a feasibility inspection is?
Sure. A feasibility inspection is essentially when a homeowner says, hey, I want to build an ADU in my property.
Right.
Whether that be convert the garage or do an addition
Mm-hmm.
to their garage, or a completely different standalone ADU in the back, if
Yeah.
their lot is big enough. We go out and we take a look at the property lines, just the details of the overall property, and based on that, we generate a report that states whether they can essentially build
or not, or what we're
depending
looking
on
for.
depending on the setbacks, depending on whatever things may be on the property, whatever factors may be on there, and then we give the homeowner a report that states whether they can or cannot build that.
And they can take
unit.
that report with them and go work with any architect or contractor too. So that's a cool thing. So for those of you who are considering, like, hey, maybe we do want to see what we can build. If you currently own a property and they're holding a VA right now, like a VA loan on their primary, we can look at that. I think financing too is like another big thing that we can help you guys with. We have a pretty good network of just ADU teams. Like we've built a pretty solid team, and with his experience of doing it on his own, I think owner build is also like a good option for people. So we can still give you the feasibility, but if you wanted to try to do this on your own, you can call somebody like Ernesto and have him share. He's already kind of shared his experience too, right, on the owner build situation, which is also like your most cost effective. But I would say do it if you have good construction background or a good network in construction. But if you don't know anything about construction and you don't know what you're doing, just hire somebody, right? Hire somebody that actually knows what they're doing.
But with that said, Steph, I think if you are going to go the homeowner's route, having done it twice and about to do it another time,
third time,
if you are doing an owner build, just know that you are going to be investing a lot of your time, and you also have to have
that part too.
You have to be willing to get your hands dirty in order to save that 20-30% that usually
that markup from a contractor,
right?
Which sometimes you got to kind of outweigh that, right? Like, do you want to, you're going to pay regardless, whether it's with money or time or energy. So if you want to save the 20-30%, you're going to have to give up 20-30% of your time, energy, and effort doing the PM, project management work, chasing subs, already know. Picking up material and all that. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, anything else you want to share with people that
I think
you think you've probably learned? Like, what would you say would be your biggest takeaway? And going back to Ernesto with starting off with the little condo, right, in Hawaii though, and to now, and then like where your mindset has been, like just the growth.
Right. I think if I was able to go back to 2014, I would definitely, knowing what I know now, I would, like you stated earlier, I would probably start with the 4-unit. However, it is, for your first property, it is scary, and it is scary. A big factor to get over. But looking back at it now, I would definitely recommend, if you do have the ability to use your VA loan, even though it may sound scary, it would be a lot more beneficial to do that than, try to, start with the condo, which is totally fine. Like I said, I've done that, but if I can go back or if I can give anybody a piece of advice regarding the VA loan, just maximize the 4-unit and then build from there.
I agree. Possible. I mean, I think still like the way you did it was the way that it was laid out for you, but it is scary to like buy your first property and then the first one is 4 units. But the reason why it'd be better for you to do it that way is, one, you're literally using your VA highest and best by buying a 4-unit. But then also in the underwriter's eyes on the financing side, it just makes much more sense for you to start off with the 4-unit, then buy the duplex, and buy the single family, then buy another single family, right? Because you're upgrading in a sense versus downgrading from a condo to a 4-plex. It's much difficult on the financing side. And so I think what would you say would be like the biggest hurdle with VAs? Because I know like when it comes to the real estate market, a lot of listing agents maybe don't know how to educate the sellers on the benefits of like accepting a VA offer. Like they see VA and FHA and they kind of just run the other way. And they're just as qualified people. Like and the loans are pretty solid. I mean, they're sometimes even better. But what would you say is like the biggest hurdle and why?
I would say finding a realtor that really knows how to break it down to that seller's agent and help them understand. Some of them they fully understand what a VA loan is and how it works and how qualified that loan is. However, just finding a realtor that knows how to speak the language in terms of the VA loan, being able to educate them and show them why the VA loan is a really good tool.
I agree. Yeah, sometimes it's just like they don't know. They don't know. It's
Right.
lack of education. They think that it's going to be overcomplicated. I've done quite a few VA loans, and most of them are pretty smooth. If we ever have hiccups with the appraiser, which is usually the case, it's totally doable. Like minor repairs that we can fix, you know. But it comes down to, like you said, but finding the right team, finding the right realtor who is very knowledgeable and can negotiate those small terms, because at the end of the day it's a great loan. It's I think probably been overlooked for the last couple of years, the way the market's been going. But now the way the market that we're in right now, which is very interesting, they're gonna have to like present them pretty much
Exactly.
and consider them. And we'll see, hopefully that opens up a lot of opportunities for VAs, because I remember back in like 2016, 2017, we were getting FHA and VA loans accepted left and right. Now, you know, I see that coming back again, because even though there's low inventory and still such a huge buy demand, the affordability is still there. So for those who are former VAs, like, don't overlook that. You can literally buy a house. We're saying you can buy a fourplex with the intention of, let's say, building two ADUs. So turn the fourplex into a sixplex, maybe even a sevenplex, with no money down. Like,
Yeah.
and we can negotiate closing costs. You're really coming in with like nothing,
Right.
right? So now it may sound scary, but it's like finding a team that can help you through every single step of the process. So that's kind of what we wanted to share today, and hopefully that brought a lot of value to you guys. We got to jump into our weekly meeting, but you know, we'll be sharing this on all platforms, YouTube, Instagram, and hopefully Bigger Pockets will reach out to you after listening to
Right.
this. I got a few clients who've been on there, like
Okay.
Jesse and Rafa.
Rafa,
Yeah, they've been on there. So we'll see. But we'll see you guys on the next one.
All
Thank
right.
you guys so much, and peace out.
See you.
Boom.